There are 14 mountains in the world higher than 8,000 metres, which is known as the Death Zone. And Andrew Locke, originally from Sydney, is the only Australian to have climbed 7 of them. But it was his last adventure which has earned him the title of Australia's leading mountaineer, when he led 2 climbers to the peak of Mount Everest.
It certainly is probably the most physically demanding thing that most people would do in their lives or would attempt to do. And it's also very mentally demanding because there is a huge perception of the danger. It is a dangerous mountain.
1 in 5 Mount Everest climbers die on the mountainside, but Locke kept his tour group of 7 out of harm's way.
There are a few incidents, but no accidents.
Locke is now giving slideshows and seminars on his adventure before he heads off again, this time down to the sub-Antarctic, leading a team of 25 scientists on a 5-month research trip. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Cardiff is certainly no stranger to grand finals. In fact, this will be the Hawks' 4th in as many years, but that doesn't mean they don't feel the jitters that come with such big games.
Oh yeah, always nervous. You've got to be nervous before a grand final in particular.
But even more rides on tomorrow's decider, given it's the first against a Central Coast side and the first time the Black Diamond Cup may leave its Newcastle home.
Well, I believe it's the oldest sporting trophy in Australia, so it's pretty special in that respect, and we're certainly looking forward to bringing it back to the Central Coast.
Terrigal Avoca has had the wood on Cardiff in their last 2 outings, but with the Hawks playing at home, the Newcastle side will have a huge crowd in their corner.
It's got to be an advantage to us, I guess, to be, or hopefully have certainly all of Newcastle and certainly all of Cardiff supporting us.
The match starts at 2:10 tomorrow at the number 1 sports ground. It's the last round in the Newcastle Rugby League's regular season, and action kicks off tonight at Cessnock. There are 3 games tomorrow, the best at Waratah, while the Northern Blues will be fighting for a top 5 spot against Lakes United on Sunday. Western Suburbs, though, will be without centre Gavin Cook for 2 games after he was suspended last night for a high tackle. The minor premiership could well be decided tomorrow in Newcastle Rugby Union, with the Wanderers taking on ladder leaders Eastern Districts in the feature match of the round. And Hamilton and Cessnock will fight it out on Sunday in the NBN Soccer League preliminary final for the right to play Edgeworth in the decider.
The new building is shaped like a cross, but it was hardly a religious experience for people trying to get to the mega market.
Yeah, we're not going to hide from that. There certainly are some difficulties out there on the highway. Everything that we could possibly do to plan, we've done, and the response has been absolutely magnificent, and with that came the difficulties.
20,000 people by midday, 30 expected by the end of trading. Not bad first day numbers for a project that took 4 years to get up and running. Inside, the market handled the numbers better than out, making the delays worthwhile.
Yeah, it's been great. We love it. Yeah. We'll be here probably, we'll be regulars. Yeah. Every weekend. Yeah.
There were still some waiting in queues, but trade was brisk. And for once, new business wasn't flowing to Sydney.
Yeah, I love it, yeah. Keep the stuff here in Newcastle, yep. Instead of people going out of the city and taking their money to Sydney, they can stay in Newcastle and spend it here.
Police are ordering more traffic controllers for tomorrow and asking bargain hunters to have patience.
If they vary the way they get here and spread it around a bit, we shouldn't have too many problems, I hope.
David McElwain, NBN News.
So crews immediately donned breathing apparatus and with hose lines conducted a rapid search and rescue while also attacking the flames.
Cessnock and Hamilton's last match was a real arm wrestle, a 1-1 draw that led to a penalty shootout, and the early signs looked to follow the same script. Ben Lane had the first real chance of the match when he grabbed a second chance from a free kick, but Cessnock keeper Peter Oberhauser stopped that. So too at the other end, with Liam Baker saving a Tony Bauer blast from point-blank range. The shots kept coming Oberhauser's way, with Olympic enjoying plenty of chances but no glory. While it was 0-0 at the break, Trent Austin did get on the booking sheet before half-time. Not long after the break, he got on the scorers list with a great strike that was simply unstoppable. Hamilton hung on to a 1-goal lead for all but the last 2 minutes of regular time. The Hornets stung one back after Neville Smith's cross lured Baker out of goal, only for the ball to fall perfectly for Craig Beckett, and it was into extra time again. Well into that, replacement Stu McAteer headed home the golden goal that takes Olympic into the grand final against Edgeworth. A local derby for the decider, but both sides had trouble coming to grips with the wet weather. No such problems in defence. If you can't go through them, go over them, and when a Kevin Watts bomb finished with Wayne Headley, Scone was on the board after just a few minutes. But a second look raises some questions about a possible knock-on. The rest of the half was about drop balls, driving tackles and more big hits. While a Stephen Bridge penalty goal made it 4-2 at the break. The second half started like the first with the Scone try, but there was nothing questionable about Dean Taylor's four-pointer. And when Adam Frost found Jade Smith out wide, Scone was in again and holding a 10-point lead. Defence continued to highlight. But as time wore on, so did player frustration. Simon Irving's tackle turning into a wrestle. Irving and Taylor spent the last few minutes of the match in the sin bin as the hits kept coming on field. But it was Scone's day, winning 12-2. Man of the match and Scone captain coach Khan Gleeson lifting the Thoroughbreds' third title in a row and its sixth in 7 years.
It's always great to play. It's always going to be a hard game, local derby, and I'm just happy to be winners, it's great.
His counterpart, however, will now hang up the boots.
There's other things apart from football that you want to concentrate on. And
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Due to work commitments, only casual and off-duty drivers attended this morning's meeting in Newcastle, but there was enough to make a point. The Transport Workers Union says the Department of Transport isn't playing its part in the formulation of a code of conduct protecting the safety of drivers and setting up ways of dealing with complaints.
We'd also like to see drivers trained as part of the accreditation process so they actually know what their rights are, as much as, in some cases, the passengers, and certainly as much as the regulators.
The drivers took their concerns to the local branch of the Department of Transport, staff promising to pass them on. The department and the union will further discuss the issue tomorrow. The protests, meanwhile, come only days after the release of a union survey condemning the behaviour of students from certain Hunter schools. A meeting between the TWU and school principals on that issue will be held on Thursday.
The same thoughts are shared by the Newcastle Knights, but you won't hear any talk of a grand final. The team are treating this match the same as the last, taking it one game at a time.
These guys are very, very much mentally on the job. They're very, very good. There's not, you don't have to go around ringing alarm bells and that. They can all count to 10. These guys, they're smart kids.
An interested observer of the Roosters win, Knights coach Warren Ryan was back busy preparing his team to take on Sydney today, and the usual suspects feature in his game plans.
We were talking about scrums and how to defend, the opposition and what we do and what we think they may do. So naturally, Fittler's name and Lamb, were mentioned.
Peter Shields left training early with some trouble with his back, but it's not considered a major concern. Winger Tamana Tahu trained strongly after missing a weekend session, while Ben Kennedy continues to carry that ankle injury.
But he's out there and he's doing everything. He's stoically training without painkillers, but he'll play with one. And Tamana looked okay today. We rested him late last week because he had a bit of a twinge in the hammy.
The team to play the Roosters will be named tomorrow, but no changes are expected to the side that beat Melbourne.
The Warren Road extension wasn't even up for approval at last night's council meeting, but the bare mention of it was enough to prompt well over 100 angry residents to voice their opposition. Residents had argued plans to link the street through to Cohiba Road would damage both the environment and the local lifestyle, and councillors agreed. Mercia Buck successfully tabling a motion to have the road zoning removed from the new local environment plan and protect the bushland. Liz Coombs has been fighting against the roadway for 30 years. Today she was struggling to believe that fight may be over.
I'm happy at the moment, but I still have reservations because we have 12 months before the LEP is released, and when I see it not dotted in on that map, I'll be happy.
Meanwhile, Council voted last night to approve a single-storey house which lies within its sulphur dioxide restricted development zone, following fresh figures from Pasminco showing a dramatic drop in emission levels.
Without this new data, I doubt that we would have been able to go ahead and give that approval.
The decision also spared owners Alan and Donna Rodham untold emotional and financial hardship.
Yeah, I've had a constant smile on my face. I think I slept last night with a big grin. So yeah, the family's very happy. Everybody's really pleased.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
.43 p.m. at Rosebuds Junior Soccer Club, and firefighters were well in time. Weatherboard had been lifted to build a place for the fire to start, but it never took a firm hold. 6 minutes later, fire crews arrived too late at a much more serious incident. The sheds out the back of an Adamstown dry cleaners were well alight and burning fiercely. It took more than an hour to beat the blaze, and the damage bill to the dry cleaning equipment inside will be in the tens of thousands of dollars. Fuel may have been used to start the fire, and police are treating all last night's incidents as suspicious.
We can only assume that because of the proximity of each of the fires in relation to the other, that there would be some connection there.
The third fire, started before 7 in the Adamstown area, was lit with fuel, according to police. It caused little damage to the house in Glebe Road, though a man was inside at the time, a fact which concerns police.
Most definitely. Anything that places the potential for someone to die in is quite seriously.
When the Newcastle earthquake struck 11 years ago, it caused widespread destruction. Geologists now believe they've found the fault that's likely to have caused it.
It is located off Lake Macquarie, and it stretches to the northwest and projects straight towards the centre of Newcastle.
Researchers at the University of Newcastle mapped the layers beneath the ocean floor using radio sounding in 1993, finding only one fault. Now, 2 years of research by Queensland University of Technology researcher Dr. Gary Huftile backs up the single fault theory.
And so we have exhaustively searched for those other faults and found none. And so therefore it's just this fault that's offshore of Lake Macquarie that is of danger to Newcastle.
He says only 20% of the fault has been ruptured, leaving the potential for more earthquakes of greater intensity in Newcastle.
You've got a geologic reason to be worried, and you prepare the best you can, and then you ride it out.
However, Newcastle Council says lessons learnt following the '89 quake mean the city and its people will be better prepared if it happens again. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
It's a big job, but keeping the Hunter region's history alive is a project this first group of trainees at the Hunter Valley Training Company is more than happy to take on. It's not only about boosting the group's employment potential, but also securing the future of the restoration process.
The skills themselves are what worries us the most. I mean, it's a specialised area. Heritage skills are a specialised area, and there are so few people today that have those skills.
To put theory into practice, the group is taking aim at some relics from Fort Scratchley.
The skills will be basic and generic in terms of their engineering outcome, but at the end of the day they're creating a restoration work for the museum.
and they have their eyes on 15 other projects throughout the region. The workers will finish their project with a nationally recognised trade qualification. The second group of students start next week. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
So you think you know a bit about cricket? Googly's right. I know that. Then test your knowledge. I'm going to go for Johnny Rhodes. Nick Knight. Against World Cup.
The hunters' waste concrete bricks and tiles could end up here, being crushed for use as road base behind 3-metre high walls of mulch.
Now that material is going to landfill. We don't want that to happen. It's state government policy that we reduce the amount of waste to landfill. Here is a way to recycle those materials.
The council's plan involves hiring a crushing plant for up to 4 days a month at the Summerhill tip as part of a trial. Once the trial is complete, a decision will be made on whether the program should continue and on whether to buy the machinery or hire it on a needs basis. Noise and dust concerns associated with the plan will be discussed at tonight's public meeting at the Wallsend Pioneer Club, but they won't be the only things on the agenda.
To look at how putrescible waste and green waste can be handled, where it can be disposed of and by what method. Now that's a much bigger picture issue.
The World Rally Car class is the Formula One of rallying, and Michael Guest now has one of his very own. Hyundai debuted its new Accent earlier this year, and the Aussie driver gets behind the wheel just when it's showing some speed.
In New Zealand only a month ago now, Alistair McRae managed to get a fastest time and Kenneth finished 5th overall, so I think all the signs are there for a fantastic package and it just gets better every time we drive it.
But the Rally of Finland this weekend won't only be a challenge because of a new car. The event is notorious for its jumps and bumps, and despite plenty of preparation, Guest will be happy just to finish.
I think for me this year I just need to pull it back a little bit, especially on some of the tricky stuff over Cress, and learn from it ready for next year.
The event begins on Friday. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Even on the sideline, the Chief is imposing, but the Knights are a different team to the 97 title winners. A real mixture of youth and experience has most believing the team is ready.
These young blokes now, you know, they're not only talented, but they're very they're with it upstairs, you know, they're mentally tough, and they realise that they're as desperate to win it as myself and Butts are, so that, you know, that's fantastic.
The 5/8 looking forward to a personal battle with Brad Fittler in what will probably be his last encounter with one of league's best.
If you aren't disciplined in the build-up, you know, and you go out there and you aren't playing at your best, then individually you're going to be embarrassed.
Ben Kennedy will be carrying his troublesome ankle injury.
Obviously it slows me up a bit through the week, and once I get to the game and get a couple of needles, it's 100%.
While Andrew Johns admits he's had plenty of nerves thinking about the game, to the point where he's had trouble sleeping.
Just knowing that it's a big game and we're probably 80 minutes away from the grand final, and you really don't know how many grand finals you're going to play. You know, this could be my last chance to play in one, so you've got to make the most of it.
Newcastle builder Phil Jones is a relieved man. Earlier this week he was facing a possible $1 million fine when Newcastle Council brought a prosecution against his company over the demolition of a 19th century cottage in Selwyn Street, Merriweather last year. However, the case has been dismissed in the Land and Environment Court after the judge decided the empty cottage was too dilapidated to be considered a dwelling and the builder did not require consent to pull it down. Council was ordered to pay the builder's legal fees of $35,000.
I think it's wrong of council to take a gamble on ratepayers' money unless they know they're 100% right.
But council claims it lost the case on a technicality. The law has since changed, requiring builders to get approval before demolishing a building or dwelling. Meanwhile, the battle goes on to save convict relics in the Customs House car park. The Heritage Council has stepped in, calling on the federal government to hand over the small parcel of land before the sale of Customs House is finalised.
It just amazes the trust that issue wasn't addressed before the government made the decision to offer the land for private sale.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
He's been in the entertainment industry for more than 30 years, and each time he comes to Newcastle, crowds flock to see him. His latest show is one that he wrote himself, and already has Hunter audiences eagerly awaiting the debut performance. English has taken 10 years to develop Buskers and Angels.
About 10 years now, on and off, been working on it. So it's a real dream come true for me.
And he's keen on bringing rock and roll back into theatre.
Story of a rise to stardom of a young girl who trades in her identity and her beliefs for just being a star as seen through the eyes of a busker.
The show opens at the Civic Theatre on the 13th of October. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Today's Excalibur Club lunch was more like a wake than a celebration, given the weekend's disappointment. Some good news with hooker Danny Badiris named in the Australian World Cup train-on squad. In all, 5 knights were named, with Andrew Johns, Matthew Gidley, Adam McDougall and Ben Kennedy also in the squad. But it's next season that incoming coach Michael Hagan has to now prepare for.
I think we've all finished a week earlier than we anticipated, so it's going to take a little while to come to grips with that.
Prop Paul Rahihi and winger Lenny Beckett are still to be signed, but the chances of getting both aren't great.
Well, I don't know if we're all that confident, given that other clubs are showing interest and they've got families and they've got decisions to make on their future. But if we can come up with something that will entice them to stay, we'll do our level best to do that.
And capping off a fine year and career in Australia, Prop Dave Fairley won the Excalibur Club's First Grade Player of the Year. First Division was jointly awarded to Ben Donaldson and Daniel Abraham. When Stu McAteer nailed Olympics' third goal, it also sealed Hamilton's third NBN Soccer League title in a row and sparked huge celebrations. Captain Ben Lane added the Man of the Match award to his Player of the Year title, while coach Greg Smith secured his third straight title as coach. Hamilton now have the chance to be the first side since the 1970s to win 4 titles in a row. The Newcastle Hunters basketball team is also crowing after wrapping up the State Premier League title against Sutherland 116-93 at the weekend. But for Tui's Cup Rugby League, it's semi-final time. The minor will be played on Friday night between West and Cessnock. Waratah and Lakes meet in the major on Saturday. And the Wanderers will play Eastern Districts in the NRU Major semi-final after finishing the regular season as minor premiers. The Waratahs and Singleton also snuck into next weekend's semi-finals.
A small but passionate crowd turned out at Curry's Peace Park to hear the Greens voice concerns about the 1,000-hectare industrial park proposal. Topping the party's list, the destruction of native bushland, the removal of sewage from the site and the general handling of the proposal by Cessnock Council.
All the information around those issues need to be made public before there can be any discussion on even if this project is appropriate.
But Mayor John Clarence says the public will be informed in due course.
Council expects to get the Section 65 certificate within the month. As soon as we get that, we go on exhibition and all the information will be made available to the public. Then we'll be calling on people to attend a public meeting so they can express their concerns.
The local land care president has thrown his weight behind council.
We have the assurance of the Mayor that there will be no problems as far as sewage is concerned.
John Clarence claims today's visit by the Greens was nothing but a political stunt, aimed at buying votes rather than sorting out any legitimate environmental concerns.
They're coming across with headlines about getting the bulldozers out of Tanalpan. They are the bulldozers. They're riding roughshod over the facts just for a headline and not considering the damage that they're doing in the community.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
It looked like a bomb had actually hit it. There was just wall-to-wall flour, rice, tomato sauce, caramel sauce, everything everywhere, everything out of the freezers. Just a mess.